Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
When did you realize you were dating an idiot? He told me he only buys the Campbell's sipping soups that are packaged in plastic because the metal cans of soup always break his microwaves. Not that he broke the microwave with a can of soup one time. He said they always break his microwaves. Plural. I guess it's good he was technically capable of learning. Not in the right way, but the spirit is there. When he couldn't find toilet paper and instead of going across the street to the gas station, instead of using paper towels and throwing them away, instead of jumping in the shower to clean up, instead of calling one of his friends who lived only 2 buildings down, he instead used Clorox wipes and then called me at work, an hour away, to yell about how badly his asshole burned. My ex got it into his head that since I used Clorox wipes to clean the bathroom, they must be even better to use to get himself clean. Man gave himself chemical burns over the 2 weeks he tried this and couldn't figure out why he had a rash. My ex got a chemical burn on his arm. We had drawn on each other in Sharpie, nothing insane or explicit and all easily covered, and he used a magic eraser and Goo Gone to get it off. I had no idea he planned to do that, but it was my fault that his arm was burned, according to him. Lol. We were going to a hotel. We had some leftovers from our nice dinner in the car, but there was no fridge in the hotel room. He put it under the car in the hotel parking lot to keep it cold. Raccoons ate the leftovers. Do not go camping with this man in bear country. Let's keep the food supply right outside the tent entrance in case we need snack in the middle of the night. Quote. My GF of 4 years was having substantial stomach and lady issues, while her brother, my age, 52M, was dying of stomach cancer. Dad had just died of stomach cancer, and her mother was in the throes of multiple cervical and pelvic floor surgeries, and always used the excuse of not having insurance as a reason why she wouldn't get things checked out. We sat down and talked about how to pinch pennies and make a concerted effort to afford insurance for her. The very next day she spent $1,000 on getting her and her 3 girls new iPhones, because the new one was out. That was a wrap. Did she die? Nah, she's still running around as far as I know. Most likely with the latest and greatest cell phone. When I moved in with my GF, we agreed that I would pay 1/3 of the utility bill since she has a teenager that also lived with her and uses a lot of power and water. A couple months in she asked me to look up her portion of the bill. I said it was about $150. She asks me how I remember that. I told her mine was $75 and hers would always be double mine. She lost her cool and started going off about how I was supposed to pay 1/3 of the bill and that she's paying 75%. She literally couldn't wrap her head around the fact that 2/3 is double 1/3. It took me probably close to a half hour to actually explain it in a way that she understood. And I tried everything, starting with saying that I pay for 1 person and she pays for 2. 2 is double 1. Definitely not one of her finest moments. God, I had a moment like that with a client at one point. I charged $40 hourly and her service took 4 hours. She got bitchy when I gave her the $160 total and demanded I explain that. I had no idea what to do after reminding her of those numbers other than to go, okay, so. 40 holds up one finger, 80 holds up second finger, and so on. She was a nurse loudly crying. I had a client, I was a lawyer, who was mad that I charged her every time she called with questions. Well, my dear, that is the nature of our relationship. You call, I charge. But steel is heavier than feathers. Vibes. https://youtube.be/fc2ok5mfg ? C = Colonel-B's She asked if they spoke English where I was planning on visiting. I was going to England. Yeah, they speak the Queen's bleedin' English. It's the King's English now. I told him I always have really light periods, light flow. He told me that's why I get acne and further explained since the dirty blood does not leave my body I get acne on my face. Fucking what? Lol. Once I remarked that I use the dictionary function on my phone every day. He said, I pretty much know all the words. Okay, that would have had me asking him for word definitions daily. Oh yeah, the challenge would be on. After being gone for a couple weeks, I returned to our shared apartment and noticed the toilet bowl had not been cleaned. I asked him what happened and he told me that he wasn't going to stick his hand in the toilet just to clean it. We had cleaning gloves and a toilet brush available. In recounting this story, I realized that he was fine thinking I was doing that to clean the toilet, but he was too good for that type of labor. Stupid and entitled. Thank God he's an ex smiling face with tear. Malicious compliance. I had a housemate who was never around, so I did the cleaning since I was the one using it. During the late months of COVID, he stayed at the house with his girlfriend, so I asked to split the chores. I took downstairs, which is 3/4 of the house, and only gave him the bathroom the 3 of us had been sharing. He poured toilet cleaner all over the tub, which stripped the coating, leaving streaks of rust. Also burned his hands doing it. I left with my deposit as soon as I could so the landlord didn't pin the problems on me. When the guy who worked at the liquor store goes, "Why are you with that guy? He's a piece of shit." That's gotta be the reddest flag I've ever heard of. BC liquor store employees see the worst type of people all day and rarely comment on it. Liquor store employees also generally don't give a shit about anything. Gun in their face. Nothing. You're drunk as hell trying to buy liquor. They might even sell it to you. I knew I was in a bad relationship, abusive actually, when I had the third totally different bartender pull me aside out of earshot from my partner and ask me a similar question or if I needed help. I may have been the stupid one, granted love is a hell of a drug and I didn't want to see it. I knew I was in a bad relationship before this, but it really hit me when my, now ex-boyfriend at the time brought me lunch at work and my boss, who didn't know him, asked if I needed help or if she needed to bar him from coming into the office. It was only our second or third date. We were chatting over dinner and somehow got on the topic of dinosaurs. He was perplexed by human survival against dinosaurs. He couldn't figure out how we survived, and they didn't. Bless his soul, I blame the Flintstones. I blame his parents' DNA. When she would say 1,000, I'd say, "You mean 1,000. She said, "I never learned how to say any of the ones with more than 3 numbers. The issue more so was that she refused to learn after the fact. Oh no, that's bad. For my own sanity, I'm going to assume you're lying. I'm logging off Reddit tonight and going to try not to think of this comment." We got into a fight because I told him that when we eat chicken, or any meat, we are eating the muscles. What did he think meat was made of? Question mark. The oysters, possibly. Okay, this is something I've never actually thought about before. Is all flesh muscle? OMG, am I the idiot my wife is dating? I think muscle, skin, and fat, subcutaneous tissue would count as flesh. To be fair, when I was about 7, I asked my dad if meat was animal muscles and he said no. Plot twist, you found your mom's Reddit account. X said maybe we should have a kid to motivate him more. That a baby would drive him, and he wanted to become a rapper. Mao, my ex, after 1 week of working off the books for $500, came home and actually said, "Guess who's getting pregnant?" Rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing. What a fucking loser. I don't know the genders in this story and I can't decide which version of this statement is scarier. She wanted to celebrate getting her boating license by taking her father's speedboat to Hawaii, from Los Angeles, California. When questioned about the distances involved in such a journey, she said we could pack some sandwiches. I like to think she's still floating out there in the middle of the Pacific. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely that someone who just passed a boating test in what sounds like a small speedboat to survive the trip? Not really. Next month will be 8 years, nearly 2 married, and I don't think my wife has realized it yet. Maybe she just loves you anyway. This is the best comment, but also don't sell yourself short, biceps. Cooking pasta. He insisted on keeping the water low medium and never high enough to boil. Would get mad at me for turning the temp up to boil because the water will burn. So y'all just had crunchy pasta. That's a tragedy. You actually don't need boiling, you can compensate with time. Like if you put some noodles in a cup of water overnight, they'll still rehydrate. But that's weird and we reject people who cook pasta like that, because we live in a society. No, it just took 45 minutes to eat mushy on the outside, hard on the inside, pasta melting face. We were at the library and I heard her describe me as a reader, with an eye roll and a sigh when on the phone with her friend. Yeah, I'd break up with someone who is talking on the phone in a library too. What an asshole. Geez, you dodged a bullet. He was very upset that his brother was getting a divorce because he was convinced it would turn his nephew gay. What? This one made me laugh pretty hard. The reality, not so great, but OMG, that's amazing. When I had to explain that the Statue of Liberty is green due to oxidized copper, and is not made of green plastic. Not knowing about the oxidized copper part one could understand. The plastic part, brew. He had a tattoo of a compass where east and west were switched, he drew the tattoo. Never wheat shredded eat. Well, north is just whichever way you're facing, bitsy. When my girlfriend walked out of the kitchen while holding a box in one hand and a snack in the other. These are the worst cookies ever. Those are dog biscuits. No, they aren't. They are cookies. Why would there be Scooby-Doo on the box? It's for kids. Great sex though, of course. There actually is a brand of kids' graham crackers called Scooby Snacks. She might have gotten them confused. Or maybe she really is just an idiot. Woman shrugging, light skin tone. Scooby Snacks are freaking awesome. About 5 years ago I got drunk and ate all of the Scooby Snacks in the pantry. The kids were pissed. Some stadiums that share an NBA and an NHL team have the ice always there, it's just covered for NBA games or other events. My ex didn't know that, and when she found that out, she said, "Wouldn't someone notice the helicopter over the arena?" She thought they lifted the basketball court through the roof. Name checks out. To be fair, until I worked at an EFT center I didn't know the ice just got covered up. But I don't see how a helicopter would help matters lol. This is the first time I'm learning about this, although I'm not all that into sports, so I never gave it the thought until now. Back when I was married, found myself deep in a fight about how our baby was in her second year. And the ex was just like, but she's one. And I'm all, yes, she is one, so this is her second year. When she turns 2, that's the end of her second year, and she'll start her third year of life. But she's 1. I didn't make things better asking through laughter if before turning 1, she's saying the baby was in its 0th year. Wait, what century are we in? The 20th, of course. I bet you blow her mind with the fact that we're living in the 21st century.